Amin, we are ready whenever you are. Friends, everyone, Yali Madad.
Since our topic today is Jamatkhana practices in order to experience the oneness of soul, Nafs Wahida, I would like to begin with a short Ghinan. I must tell you all that I'm not a wonderful Ghinan reciter, but this Ghinan is very pertinent. It is very, very relevant, and it always amazes me that people say, Bachano Ghinan. This Ghinan is for children, and they teach them in the Baitul Ilm. This is one of the first Ghinans that they teach them. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Echidat mahe aavine, Mera bhai kar jodi rahi hai. Purana vachana apana sira par kariye.
This conference will now be recorded.
Veera bhai sanamukha rahiye, Linda khaye yathi ukhine jaiye. So keeping in mind that many of our younger generation and not so younger generation have lost the languages of our origin, I would like to just translate that Dinan, the two verses, the two first verses. It's a very short Dinan, only 4 verses, and I recited now as a beginning, as a barakah for this session, the 2 verses. And so the first one, Eji Gatamahe Avi Nazira Bhai Kara Jodi Rahi hai, means that when you enter the Jamatkhana, remain with your hands folded, meaning remain in a very respectful, very ethical manner. And Guruna Vachana Apana Sira Parataniye, that means whatever the Imam says, whatever the Imam commands, every word of the Imam we should carry on our heads, meaning give it the greatest importance in our lives. This is the meaning of Sira Paratariya, that we give the greatest importance to the Imam's farmans. And in the second verse, having entered the Jamatkhana, be proactive. Be proactive in the remembrance of your Lord. And wherever there is any backbiting happening, stand up and leave that place. So you can see that in these 2 verses only, Sadruddin has encompassed, he has included the entire ethics of Jamatkhana behavior. And so this is what our whole topic is about today. And I would like to ask you now to move to the next slide, which is, I think, on the screen, inshallah, in a minute, yes. I want to start with the preamble of the Ismaili Constitution. This is paragraph D. The authority of the Imam in the Ismaili Tariqa is testified by Bayya, by the Murid to the Imam, which is the act of acceptance by the Murid of the permanent spiritual bond between the Imam and the Murid. I emphasize those words again. It's a permanent, not a temporary, not for a short time, forever. Permanent, and it is a spiritual bond. It's not a physical one. It is a spiritual bond between the Imam and the Murid. And the Murid is the one who submits his will, his irada to the Imam. That's why the word Murid comes from the word irada, that we submit our will to the Imam. This allegiance unites all Ismaili Muslims worldwide in their loyalty, devotion, and obedience to the Imam. Very beautiful sentence which encompasses the whole concept of walaya, the first pillar of Shia Islam, that we, by giving this bay'ah, we are united no matter where we live in the world, no matter what language we speak, no matter what culture we follow, or what are our politics or anything else. We are united because we have the same loyalty, the same devotion, and the same obedience to the Imam. But this is in a context within the Islamic concept of universal brotherhood. And I'm going to come to what that universal brotherhood is in a few minutes. And then the final sentence says that this loyalty, devotion, obedience is distinct. It is distinct from the allegiance of the individual murid to his land of abode. There's nothing to do with where we live, what our nationality is. And the Imam has always said that we should be loyal to the country which gives us security and protection, etc., whose nationals we are. So this is a very important passage of the preamble of the Constitution. I know it is available on many websites. Please make sure that if you don't read too much, at least you read the preamble of our Constitution. Let's go on to the next one. This is the Holy Quran. What does it tell us? In Surah 48, Ayah 10, this is the ayah which we recite 3 times a day in our dua, in the 4th part. Indeed, those who swear allegiance to you, Muhammad, swear allegiance to Allah Himself. The hand of Allah is above their hands. So whoever breaks their oath or promise or allegiance, break it only to their soul's loss. If we do not obey the Imam, if we are not devoted or loyal or obedient, then in no way does this harm the Imam. The harm is entirely the harm, the loss of our own souls. While the opposite, while whosoever fulfills what they have promised Allah will soon receive a great reward from Him. Ajran azima. The great reward for this. Now, many of you will be aware, because you will have heard in wa'azis, that this is the ayah caused Pir Nasir Kisra, who was born a Sunni and who was a high government official in Badakhshan. When he read this ayah, he asked the question, where is that hand of Allah now? We are talking about 1,000 years ago. He asked this question, and anybody who reads the Quran carefully, they have to ask this question. Can the hand of Allah be there at one time and not be there at another time? Can it disappear completely like that? Then if that was the case, then the Quran becomes limited in its usefulness. So, where is that hand of Allah? He asked. He asked himself, then he asked all the scholars around him, and they said to him, you know, that hand, that tree, those people who did, they've all disappeared. There's nothing left of that. And he said, And Nasir Kisra had a very sharp intellect. So he asked, what is my sin? What have I done wrong that in my time I am deprived of that hand? Look at his logic. Very clear. Why is his hand not here? Have I done something wrong? Am I so sinful that God has deprived me of this hand? His hand, Allah's hand. Allah's hand is above their hands. Where is his hand? Allah is not something that can just disappear. So it was asking these questions around this Surah 48, Ayah 10, that led him to start on his 7-year journey to Cairo, where he found what he was looking for. He found what he was looking for. And he then returned, not as an ordinary murid. He returned as the Hujjat-e-Khurasan, the Pir of Khurasan. And then he did the da'wah there 1,000 years ago. Tomorrow we are going to speak about diversity and unity, and I will have to repeat some of this again, because the Badakhshan, the Central Asian Ismaili community, which is the largest in number in the global Ismaili Jamaat, that came into existence 1,000 years ago. On the work done by Pir Nasir Kisra, who was not a born Ismaili, who came into Ismailism by using his God-given intellect. All right, let's go to the next one. This is a hadith. So I've given you a farman, if you like, because the preamble of the constitution is what the Imam sanctioned. Then I've given you a Quranic ayah. Now I'm giving you a hadith so that you have enough references. We should always have references. And in this hadith, the Holy Prophet Muhammad says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ وَالْأَنْبِيَاءُ كِنَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. Indeed, Mu'mins are brothers and sisters, and prophets are like the single soul. So in this hadith now you know what is Nafs Wahida. It is the prophet or the Imam of the time. They are the single soul. How? They are actually the single soul. Whereas the murids are potentially single soul. Meaning we also have that capacity. But to fulfill and to perfect that capacity, we would need to follow the guidance of the Imam very, very carefully. So this is about who is a single soul and who are we, and can we reach that single soul? Because the title of this talk today is that Jamatkhana practices to experience the Nafs Wahida. We want to experience it in our regular attendance in Jamatkhana so that we can progress towards actualizing our potential, to actualizing our light within. Okay, we can go to the next one. So now just let's have a summary of what we have been discussing. In previous section, we reflect on the Quran, Surah 4, Ayat 1, which we said is what Maulana Hazar Imam chose as his golden jubilee emblem. And it says to us that you are all created from the Nafs Wahida. This is not one reference to Nafs Wahida in the Quran. There are 6 references to Nafs Wahida in the Quran. Okay? So we are familiar with this now. But when I say we are familiar, we have heard about it. Now we have to go to the Quran and read and reflect on it. Then we also reflected on a very great Muslim poet, Sadi. Why did we reflect on him? To assure ourselves that this concept of all of us being from Naqsh Wahida is so deeply embedded in the Islamic culture that you find it even expressed in poetry. And what did he say? All human beings are from the same essence of the soul. And if one of them is in pain and the rest of us ignore that, then we cannot deserve to be called human. That was what we had understood. And you all have that verse and its translation on the slide. Then we come to the Islamic concept of universal brotherhood. You saw in the first slide in the preamble of the Constitution, paragraph D, that Maulana Hazimam said that the bay'ah of the murid to the Imam unites all Ismailis in their obedience, devotion, and loyalty to the Imam within the Islamic concept of universal brotherhood. So if you take these first 3 points here, what is our context? All human beings are from the Naqsh Wahida. They are the children of Adam, so they are all related. First, that's the first level. Then on top of that, we come to the Islamic brotherhood, the concept of Islamic brotherhood. There is history behind this. So this brotherhood, and I'm going to just briefly tell you about that. So this brotherhood, which Islam gives us, we can call that a religious relationship. Our first relationship is that we are all God's household, from the same single soul, so we are all the human family. Then we have an additional thing, which is that we are all Muslims, so we are religious brothers and sisters. And then on top of that, we go and do bay'ah to the Imam. So now you have another layer of spiritual brother and sisterhood. How strong should that make the Ismaili Jamaat? How strong? So now let me just tell you a little bit about the history of the Prophet. How did this religious brotherhood come about? That those of you who are not too familiar with the details of our history, we should all know that the Prophet was forced to emigrate from his birthplace Makkah because of opposition and enmity towards his work as a prophet. So he emigrated from Makkah to Medina. How? Without any notice and only leaving Makkah in their standing up clothes, not taking anything with them, because there was not that possibility to do so. It is a little bit like how our Uganda Jamaat had to leave Uganda in their standing up clothes. They were not allowed to take anything, the majority of them, anyway. So when they arrived in Medina, they changed the name of the town to Madinatul Nabi because the Prophet arrived there. Then these immigrants, who are called Muhajirun, from Makkah, they had nothing. So who would give them shelter? Who would give them food? Who would share with them? The people of Medina who are loyal to the Prophet. They are called the Ansar, the helpers, and the emigrants. And what did the Prophet do? He appointed one of each to be brothers. Very beautiful, really. He said, so-and-so from Makkah will be the brother of so-and-so from Medina. And he did that to everybody, to all his followers. And at the end, only Maulana Ali was left. And of course, the brother said, "Oh Ali, you are my brother." That's why there is a book, Imam Ali, the brother of the Holy Prophet. So this is the concept of the universal brotherhood. And you know that recently in the United States, when this Black Lives Matter movement, and then it spread across the world, it also started here in Britain. During that time, there were many messages and YouTubes and social media emphasis on what the Prophet had said. He had said that in Islam, black or white is not superior to each other. White is not superior to black. Arab is not superior to non-Arab. We do not have this distinction in Islam. Everybody is from the children of Adam to begin with, and when they accept the message of Islam, they become religious brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters in religion, in a universal brotherhood. And that is one of the greatest appeals of the Islamic message to people nowadays who are reacting towards discrimination. But as I said, since we believe in the direct descendant of the Holy Prophet, since we believe that the Prophet appointed a successor, and that successor, Maulana Ali's Noor, is in the present Imam, we do bayah, and then we have the additional characteristic, specialty, if you like, of spiritual brotherhood and sisterhood. It is really worth reflecting on this sometime. I think you get a lot of happiness when you realize how many people we are related to. And I put there in brackets, my beloved spiritual children. You are all familiar with this beautiful beginning to a farman, to a talika. Maulana Hazar Imam says to us, my beloved spiritual children. Spiritual children. It is a spiritual bond. And I hope that you also noted the fact that the word which was used for this connection is described as a bond. A bond is a very strong word in English. A bond cannot be broken. And it is a permanent spiritual bond. So now I want to just discuss this spiritual relationship a bit more. I have put there as a bullet point, spiritual relationship transcends our physical relationship. And I'm going to tell you today that many times I have discussed with members of the Jamaat, and I start my discussion by, because my partner, my husband, Fakir, Dr. Fakir Hamzai is with me, and I say to people, Fakir and I are physically husband and wife. There is no doubt about it. We have a, contractual partnership marriage. But because we are both Ismailis, and he's from the Central Asian tradition, and I'm from the Indian subcontinent tradition, but because we are both Ismailis, we have both done bay'ah, alhamdulillah, then apart from being husband and wife, we are also spiritual brother and sister. And you can take any physical relationship you like. Father and son, that's a physical relationship, but spiritually they are brothers. Mother and daughter, they are spiritual sisters. Mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, they are both Ismailis. This is a spiritual relationship, they are sisters. And if we had that outlook, if we had that concept, can you think how different our physical relationships would be? Now just reflect on that, all right? And this spiritual relationship is reinforced every time we go to Jamatkhana, every time we serve the Jamaat, every time we do voluntary work on a committee or wherever. This is reinforced. Every farman, every talika tells you, my beloved spiritual children, you are the husband and wife, mother and daughter, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, father and son. We are all sitting there and we are all being addressed as my beloved spiritual children. We are the same in the eyes of the Imam of the time. And therefore I truly say that our spiritual relationship does transcend our physical. Our physical relationships are temporary. They are temporary. They will end when we leave this physical body. But our spiritual relationship will carry on in eternity. Let's go to the next slide. So now, having said that, we come to the importance of congregational prayer. What is the benefit? What is the advantage in being together as spiritual brothers and sisters to pray in Jamatkhana? And from nature, I have given the example that if you have one dry stick and you light it, no doubt it will produce a bit of light and a bit of heat. But compare that to a big bonfire, a pile of sticks. How much light and heat can you produce? That's exactly the case. So private, personal prayer is very important in Islam. In your home, wherever you are, at work. But when you go to Jamatkhana and you gather together, your soul becomes empowered by the souls of all the other moments in the Jamatkhana. And therefore your prayers become very powerful. All right, let's take an example from society, from our various contexts. Many hands make light work, they say in English. See? Not individual, many. And for those of us who come from East Africa, there is a Swahili proverb which says that if you walk alone, you will definitely get there faster. But if a whole group walks together, they can cover a greater area. See, these are truths which are in our culture, in our society, etc. And then the third example is from maths and arithmetic, if you like. The whole is bigger than the number of its parts. The parts are individuals, but when you combine the individuals into a whole, this is much bigger. And then from culture, I remember once somebody sent me a link and I watched this YouTube. There were 2,000 sitars being played together. It was an amazing sound. Yes? So one instrument, violin, piano, whatever, will make a very pleasant sound if it is somebody who is really good at it playing. But if you have a whole orchestra with different instruments, they can produce a symphony. So individual personal prayer is important in Islam, but the benefit of congregational prayer is greater. Now, this is why in Islam you have what is called the Jami Masjid. Jami comes from the same word as Jamatkhana, Jamaat, Jami, Jumu'ah, etc. Means congregational. And Salat al-Jumu'ah on a Friday. If you can't go to namaz at any other time, you must go to the Salat al-Jumu'ah, the Friday noon prayer, all together. And one of the photographs which comes on the television again and again is all bending together in prostration. This is a very favorite picture of the Western media. And on the level of hakikat, it is Hazan Imam's wish, and he tells us, nothing will make me happier than to know that you are in Jamatkhana regularly. And nothing will make me unhappy or unhappy than to know that you are not. So, congregational prayer is very, very important. In Islam there are many different types of prayers. Many different types. Group prayers, big congregation, individual, loud prayer, prayer which is not loud, hidden prayer like our Baitul Khayat, There are many different types of zikr in Islam. Okay? Let's go to the next slide. And this is your reference from the Holy Quran. And this Surah 3, Ayat 1 of 3, is the one that Imam Zaman used as an emblem for his silver jubilee. So all the Ismaili Center in London was its silver jubilee project. It has this on its wall in the foyer when you enter. And this ayat says, and hold fast, all of you together. That's the word, together. Jama'at. We have to hold fast together to the rope of Allah. And do not separate. You see, then it also tells you, it reinforces, do not separate. And remember Allah's favor unto you. How you were enemies and He made friendship between your hearts, so that you became as brothers by His grace. And how you were upon the brink of an abyss of fire, and He did save you from it. So this ayat actually is talking about togetherness, Jama'at. And I hope that you also all notice that, you know, the rope of Allah is a parable, it's an allegory, it's a symbol, and in the Ismaili Batini interpretation it means a successor to the Prophet, it means the vicegerent, the Khalifa of God on earth, who is the Imam of the time. And here, we have to hold fast to him. God is not commanding the Imam, the rope, to hold us fast. We are supposed to do this. And we do that through loyalty, devotion, and obedience. We don't all run to Eglamo and try and do this physically. That would be impossible. We have to do it in our daily lives through Farman Bardari. Okay, so the togetherness is very important. And do not separate. Do not be disunited, you know, because disunity weakens. Okay, let's go. Alright, so in this slide I want to tell you that all our rites and ceremonies are performed in unison, together. You see, because that's what it says, hold fast together. So, we believe that Jamatkhana is a house of nur because it has been designated and sanctioned by the Imam. The Imam has said very often in Farmans, I'm leaving you physically, but remember, I'm always in every Jamatkhana everywhere. So the Jamatkhana for us is the house of nur. And it is living and eternal for us. Therefore we say, Hayyu zinda qayyumu fa'inda. Now, I want to spend a little bit of time on that because we don't only use this phrase when we enter Jamatkhana, we use this phrase other times like when we receive a juro or sukri on the gatpa. Some people are not sure about where these words come from. Hayy and Qayyum are the two, according to all Muslims, they are supposed to be the two most supreme names of Allah, and this is why they occur in the Ayatul Kursi, Surah 2, Ayat 255. In Ayatul Kursi it says, Allahu la ilaha illahu al-hayyul qayyum. Allah is living, Allah is ever living. He is Hayy, He is Qayyum. So these are Arabic words, Hayy and Qayyum. But remember we discussed that our Imams have spent 7 centuries, 700 years in Iran. And therefore we have many compound words where one is Arabic and the other is Farsi. So for Hayy, living, the Farsi word is Zinda. Same meaning, two different languages. Now, some of our Indian Jamaat origin, they think that the word hey is the Hindi word. You know, when you say, ye acha hai, this is good. Because in Hindi, the hey, the verb comes at the end of the sentence. But here, that's not the case. This is definitely not the case, because hay is the first word. Hay, living. What is living? The nur of the Imam is living, present, AZIZ and Mawjood. And Qayyum, the answer is that this is not only living now, but it will be ever living. Please keep that in mind. And of course, through usage of language, now we just say Hayzallah, Kayam. That's okay, because language is also evolved, but the correct pronunciation is Hayyu Zinda Qayyum Paida. Now, what impact should it have on us when we utter these words when we enter the Jamatkhana? The impact should be that if you are not already aware, you now become aware that you are entering the house of light, the Imam's light. And this light rejects all impurity. Impurity of thought, impurity of speech, impurity of action. We are in the house of Nur. Therefore, as I mentioned in the 2 verses I recited, enter the Jamatkhana with your hands folded, i.e. with total respect. This is also a symbol. You don't have to enter with your hands physically folded, but in that ethos, with that type of feeling that you have entered a place where there should be nothing but respect. And the words of the Imam should be carried on your head, meaning they should be obeyed thoroughly. And then we do dua, the 3 duas, the 2 in the evening and the 1 in the morning, all together. One person leads, because we are an esoteric tariqah. It can be a male or a female who leads with the Amra of the Muqtasib, and then we all do the actions together. So if it is time to raise your hands, we raise them together. When it is time to prostrate, we prostrate together. When it is time to recite the Tasbih of Ya Ali, Ya Muhammad, Ya Muhammad, Ya Ali, we all do it together. This togetherness is there. One of our rites is the Tasbih of Divyazari, which means supplication with tears. Why do we stand up? Because we are in the presence of the Nur. We are nothing. We are in the presence of the Nur. So we stand up to request, Ya Mawla, Ya Ali, forgive our sins, etc., etc., etc. Yeah? I'm going to talk about Divyazari a bit more in the last 2 lectures. We all together listen to the recitation of Dinans, Qasida, Farman, Waz. And I've written that it is important to be united in doing this. It is not the time for individual prayer. I must tell you my own experience. This is a long time ago. I was doing a verse in this Jamatkhana, and my habit is that I look around and I turn this way and that way. And when I turned toward my right, I saw that the Mukhani Ma was absolutely engrossed in her tasbih. She was a very good friend of mine. She is a very good friend of mine. So after Jamatkhana finished, I said to her, Mukhani Ma, when I was delivering was, what were you doing? He said, I was reciting my tasbih. So I said to her, Mukhani Ma, my verse was about Mola Bapa. My verse was about how we should be in Jamatkhana. We should understand our religion, our faith, the farmans, etc. but you are doing your own tasbih. And she understood what I was saying. She understood what I was saying. And we find often that people are, sometimes because of work commitments, they come to Jamatkhana after, say, the first dua is finished, then you find that during the Ginan or Farman, they will be reciting their own dua to make up for that first one. No, I do not think that helps the unity. The unity, the unison, is when we do these things together. And this is the reason why I think, many members of the Jamaat do not remember what was said in the Farman, or where was the Farman made. I have tried this. I have tried this. I have asked members of the Jamaat, what did the Imam say in the Farman today? Oh, this I don't remember. Why? Because they didn't listen to it in unity. They were doing their own tasbih. Actually, we should not use the tasbih at the time of the reading of the Farman. We should keep the tasbih in front of it, and our entire attention should be on the words of the Imam, because the words of the Imam are living nur. And while I'm talking about this unity, when we enter Jamatkhana later than others, how should we, behave? I must tell you, little things make a lot of difference. Some lady arrives later for a good reason, no doubt. But what do? You do not open your bag, your handbag, which has a big clutch and makes a sound, and take out your tasbih, which has some ornament on it which tinkles or makes a sound. We should be really aware that we do not disturb that unity in any way. Really, make sure you open your bag and take your tasbih out before you enter Jamatkhana. You don't have to open your handbag. Volunteers are very strict, particularly in the Western countries. They are instructed by the Mukhan Damanyani that if children make a noise, they have to be taken out. So if children who are children, and you can't control children much, are not allowed to make noise in the Jamatkhana, why do the adults do things which cause disturbance in the Jamatkhana? We've got to be really aware of what the Jamatkhana is and its importance, and how we have to maintain that unity of soul, the unity of experiencing the light. It is so I really can't emphasize that more. But I would like to share with you the comments of our youngsters who grow in these countries. Our young people, they go to schools when they learn about other religions. They even visit the places of worship of other religions. And when they come back to the Jamatkhana, they ask, how come it is so quiet in the mandir or the church, but in Jamatkhana we have so much noise? And what is the answer? In all the purpose-built Jamatkhanas, there is a social hall. I'm not saying you can't talk to people and you should not have any social interaction. Of course, that is very important for a human being. But it should not be in the Jamatkhana, the prayer hall. The prayer hall should be a place of pin drop silence. And it should be a place where we experience the oneness of our soul, where we experience the light of the Imam. And finally, of course, there's the Gatpa ceremony, which without the slightest doubt everybody knows. One kum, 5 pyalis, and every member of the Jamaat drinks from the same piyalis. If that is not an amazing symbol of oneness, I don't know what is, right? It is a very, very important ceremony for us, and when we say farman, guidance, the answer is Ya Ali, Ya Muhammad. Whose farmans? The farmans of Ya Ali and Ya Muhammad, the Prophet and the Imam, the ever-living Noor. His farmans. That is the meaning of Ad-Shifa. And I shall talk about that a little bit more, inshallah, next weekend. Let's go to the next one. I think I might be running out of time. Okay. No. So let's go to this. Maulana Rumi. Everybody loves Maulana Rumi nowadays, alhamdulillah. What does he say? Chashm bandu, goosh bandu, labdiban, dar nabi means noor haq, barman dikhan. Look at his confidence. Close your eyes, he says. Close your ears and close your lips. If you do not see the divine light, you can laugh at me. Look at his confidence. Now, the question is, when we enter Jamatkhana, we have done Dua Karavi, we sit down, do we close our eyes? Are our eyes closed throughout the Dua except for Shadida? Are our eyes closed during the standing up tasbih, tasbih, during the recitation of the dinar, during the farman? Because eyes are very distracting as well. If you're looking around, you definitely, have a lot of thoughts about what somebody is wearing or what somebody is up to, or etc., etc. So it is imperative, it is really, really important to follow this counsel. Maulana Rumi, he went through these things with Pir Shams Tabriz. Maulana Sultan Shah said that Maulana Rumi was the murid of an Ismaili Pir. So obviously this teaching is what he got from Pir Shams Tabriz. That if you want to see the light of God, the divine light, then you need to keep your eyes closed so they are not distracted. You need to keep your ears closed and your lips closed. I.e., don't use your zahiri external senses at that time, with the Jamatkhana time. And that should be a lesson which is very easy for us to understand, because for Parodiya, Ibadat, that's exactly what we do. We close our outer senses in order to activate our inner senses. Okay? And this is, I really feel that thing about Maulana Rumi, one should really, really take to heart, because in the next slide, this is a farman of Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah. Can you go back to the verse? Maulana Sultan Shah said, and I'm not quoting him, I am putting inverted quotes here because I'm not doing the translation of word by word. But he has said that three kinds of Jamaat, Ismailis attend Jamatkhana. One, there are those who earn great blessing and then they go home, full of barakah. Then there's a second group, they neither gain nor lose anything. I mean, the way they came, they go back in the same state. And then number three, this is really, really perplexing. This really asks us questions. There are those who return having lost a great deal. Isn't that amazing what he said? How can that be? Can it be that that person who went in loss, that he did some nafarmani? Did they do any gila gibat, backbiting, slandering in the Jamatkhana? Did they lose their temper with somebody? Did they tell, have a quarrel with somebody? All those ethics, if they are not followed, and if you have not kept your eyes and ears and mouth closed during Jamatkhana ceremonies, then those are the ones who go back having lost a great deal. Yeah? This is so important, right? And in this eyes closed, your ears closed, and your mouth closed, of course, they are all familiar with the story of the three wise monkeys. And there are statues of them. With one having his hand over his eyes, and one having his hands on his ears, and one on his mouth. Right? Apparently, it is a Japanese thing. This has come into existence from the 16th, 17th century in Japan. So other cultures also have this understanding that, there are times when you have to keep your eyes closed, your ears closed, and your mouth closed. And turn towards your spiritual world, your inner world, your personal world. Yeah? So I Googled it, I found it very interesting, these three Japanese tradition monkeys and how they have evolved. And in the West, for instance, they are taken in a negative sense. It depends on the culture. But I'm just saying to you that this is a universal thing, it looks like, right? And why we Ismailis, with our emphasis on the batin, on the esoteric, on the spiritual, on the intellectual, we should be in the forefront of practicing these things. Okay? My next slide is that from Ginawa Said Ali Akbar Beg, AGI में बेसों ने गोठड़ी करिए पाठ आपने ज्ञान जगरिए I have taken more time today, so we'll have to go through this just in English, I think, right? O Momin, come, sit and speak of love. Perform the rite of Gatpat and concentrate. You cannot concentrate if your eyes are open. O Momin, come to Jamatkhana and drink Aab-e Shifa. Aab-e Shifa, the water, this is also Farsi version. Aab is water of Shifa, healing. And keep reciting the Lord's name. O Mu'min, reflect on religious knowledge and be true in behavior. Where is the religious knowledge? In the meanings of the dua, in the meanings of the farman, in the meanings of the gina, in whatever the verse or lecture is, and be true in the behavior. You will then enjoy the eternal world, the immortal status. O Mu'min, the believer who created light within obtained the divine blessing of the eternal meaning. Eji jene munivare jot jadai amar vedni nyamat pai. You have to, awaken the inner life. And again, for that, you cannot let your anxiety, external senses, distract you. And then, all moment in the Jamaat is worship, spiritual exercise. And in it, the method of how you worship. In the Jamaat is Aab-e Shifa, and in it is salvation, Mukti. Eji Gatama hai Japta, Gatama hai Jukti, Gatama hai Amiras, Gatama hai Mukti. Beautiful. That is really beautiful of Sayyid Ali Akbar Beg. And for that final salvation and Aab-e Shifa, my next slide please, is from the Nasik Isra. He writes in his Diwan, again, look at his confidence and his strong identity. Shiyat Fatimiyan Yafta an Aab-e Hayyat. Kisr Indosh Dastan Hargiz Namara. What does he say? That the Fatimid Shia, meaning the Ismailis, the followers of the Imam, what have they done? Because they have followed the Imam's guidance, commands, they have drunk the water of life, Aab-e Hayat. Yes? This is the water of life. Aab-e Shifa is the symbol of that, Farman Bardari. And when they do that, they become the Khizr, you know. Hazrat Khizr is supposed to have never died. Becoming the Khizr, immortal ones of this time, who never die. Physical death does not affect them, okay? Alright, and then finally we finish with a farman. From time to time, I give you farmans concerning worldly matters, but the essential, what has been and what has and always will be the essential, is that my spiritual children must understand the meaning of their faith, and they must actively whether it be 500 years in the past or 500 years in the future. The only source of real happiness, the only source of peace and light in oneself, see, look at that, source of peace and light in oneself is from your faith. And I wish you to teach this to your children, and I wish you to understand it yourselves. And the date, look at the date, 1964. I do have a few minutes left for the session time. So I just want to give you 2 ayats. I have not done slides for them because then there are too many slides. All of you who have a pen or something, please write them down. One is Surah 2, ayat 222. Easy to remember. Surah 2 and ayat 222, and Surah 9, ayat 108. In both of them, it is the end of the ayat that is important to look at carefully. In Surah 2, ayat 222, it is about Allah truly loves those who turn to Him. That is, they do tawbah. Tawbah means to turn towards something. So, truly Allah loves those who turn to Him, and He loves those who are clean, who care for cleanliness, purity. And the 9108 oath is also Wallahu yuhibbul mutahhirin, meaning Allah loves those who are pure. And so this purity is obviously not about physical purity, you know. Sadruddin tells us, Kappada dhove so kya ho? Dil dhove so paro. If you wash your clothes, your outer, it's okay. But the ones who really benefit are the ones who wash their inner, keep their inner pure. And how can you do that? You can only do that through following the farmans of the Imam. That's why the Shams, in peace Dinan, Ek Katira Rabindra Pir Shams Jazi Satara, Usa Namo Navana, Vira Navana. You know, this Punjabi script, and he's talking about how the Hindus used to go to all these places where the 2 rivers, 3 rivers meet and have a bath in the river. And they think that this is giving them purity. He says, Nate dote se jiya jine gurda farmaya kiya aur nahi navana. The real purification is in following the Imam's farmans, not any other type of thinking. So the Ismaili Tariqa is very, you can see the consonants, you can see the harmony between the hadiths and the farmans and the preamble and the Quran and what the Dinan said. Everything fits into a perfect picture. But that doesn't come unless there is search, there is reflection, there is discussion, there is a personal search to understand. And inshallah, I hope that these sessions are exactly that we are trying to come together to understand with each other's help on how we should behave as Ismailis. And what is the power and the benefit of doing things together in Jamatkhana? And that power and the benefit is that we who are potentially nafs wahida can become actual single souls. It's a very long journey, no doubt, like the Prophet had to make the journey of Raj to become that. So, yes, but they say that even a journey of thousands of miles begins with the first step. And I think this first step has been done, but now we want to keep going forward, don't we? Inshallah. And we know that Mola is with us, His blessings are with us. So we are very lucky, very blessed. Thank you, everybody. I've finished my presentation, and if you have questions, we will try to answer them.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Shukranallah, Alhamdulillah. Every week, I think this is the best presentation ever. Then I have to change my mind and I say, today is the best presentation ever. Subhanallah. So we have a couple of comments first. One, thank you for this. As we are going back to the Jamatkhana, we will surely will keep this in mind. And the second one was, Ameen, Ameen. And the second one was, I am over, okay, I don't want to say the age. She's over 65. I have never heard any of our ALWAAZs talk about the unity and Nafs and Waida. We all are connected, and we are told again and again that we are connected to the Imam Zaman, but never to each other. And then there are a couple of questions, if you don't mind, Rashida Sahaba.
No, not at all. Okay.
Thank you. So the first question was, can you give us some tips on how to prepare mentally and even spiritually before we enter the Jamatkhana?
Oh, yes. You remember when you were discussing the Ismaili centers and the way they have been built and how, you are entering and taking off first your coats and briefcases and umbrellas and then your shoes and then you go up the corridor and then up some stairs. So, you have time. You have to gather your thoughts that you are going to enter a very special place now. Yes? Right? That Mina verse where Sayyid says that, in the daytime, do your dhanda. Saaj pade to bani raho sahib na banda. Right? That concept. That, I've done a lot of hard work all day. I have now come for my spiritual upliftment. So that should be forefront in our mind. And those of us who have the luxury of going from home, like us, retired people or whatever, then, we spend quite a bit of time, sprucing ourselves up. We make ourselves smart, clean, well dressed when we go to Jamatkhana. While you are doing that, we could be doing some zikr. While we are doing our makeup or whatever, use zikr and say to Mola, I'm doing this physically in order to go to your house of Nur. Mola, prepare me spiritually for that as well. And if you're walking to Jamatkhana, or you're driving to Jamatkhana, or you're on the public transport, the farman of Imam, they have a tasbih with you. Remember, do zikr. These are all little things which help you, right? When you get to Jamatkhana. My local Jamatkhana has a double staircase. So every step I take is the name of Mola. And that way, I'm ready to enter the house of Nur, Jamatkhana. So yes, all of us can do that. I mean, we do take a lot of care in our outer appearance when we want to go to Jamatkhana. With that, we keep up our zikr when we are doing outer as well as the inner. I hope you agree with that.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. The second question is, in the morning especially, before we go for our Betul Khayal Ibadat, is there a particular tasbiyat or zikr that we should be doing instead of, she has a list, listening to Ginan, listening to Wise, or the listening to other Quranic ayat.
For Parodi, the whole idea is to turn completely inwards, right? And therefore, my suggestion would be to remember your bowl. From the minute you get up, remember your bowl, and while you're dressing, etc., traveling to Jamatkhana, keep up your bowl. But when you enter the Jamatkhana Parodi, first and foremost, before you seriously start your meditation, your bandagi, all of us experience the waswasa, the insinuation, right? The useless thoughts which come to our mind. And to efface those, to erase those, we always need to do a bit of bidyavzari. We need to shed a few tears, asking for tawbah, asking for forgiveness for whatever we may have done wrong in the previous 23 hours, because not everything we do wrong is in front of us. Sometimes we do guna through our thoughts. Our thoughts are negative. That's a guna. So first and foremost, we should ask for forgiveness of any weaknesses and shortcomings of the previous 23 hours. Once you have wiped your slate clean and your tears have come as well, and they'll help you to wipe your slate clean, then you really, with utmost concentration and humility, you recite your bowl.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. The next question. So in this time, when we are mostly at home and going to Jamatkhana once in a while, how do we connect in the Nafs and Waida while we are at home and doing our tasbih and dua?
Yes, no, spiritual things have no physical barriers, right? So even if you are sitting at home, it doesn't matter. You are lucky that you are already going to Jamatkhana, 2-3 times a month or whatever. Keep at home, keep the feeling that you are in Jamatkhana. First imagine that, right? And the human mind is amazing, isn't it? The human mind can conceive anything. So keep the picture of the Jamatkhana in your mind and feel that you are there. And that way you will connect with the Nafs Wahida, right? The Nafs Wahida is everywhere because, it's like the ayat of Nur, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. So the single soul, the Nafs Wahida is also like that. Nur is another name of the single soul. This is in the heavens and the earth, it's around us. And that's why this dua in Nur is to help us to understand that we are immersed in this soul or light. And yes, we conceptually, through our khayal, through our power of imagination, we can feel, we may be at home, but we can feel we are in Jamatkhana.
The second question is on the same line. I feel disconnected, especially once a week or whenever I get a chance to go to Jamatkhana. We no longer drinking the Abe Shafa together, but individual, I guess she's talking about that small bottles that we receive now, individually and taking home and drinking it on our own. I guess she's saying I'm a little bit confused about that.
Yes, this is, we should all pray that this should be a temporary thing. And inshallah, with all the advancements in vaccines, etc., we have to pray very hard that, the richer countries, produce enough vaccine to cover the entire world. rich and poor can all benefit from it. That should be part of our prayer at this time. And inshallah, then it will be a temporary thing. But remember something about us as batinings. You know, if you think of, you remember actually in my first session, I think, that we talked about how Ismailis have been persecuted for 1240 years. So in those 12 and a half centuries, we didn't have this privilege of gathering and practicing our faith together. How did the Jamaat survive? Because we are backing you. We do not give so much importance to the outer. We are always seeking the inner meaning. So, yes, okay, so today you have Niyaz Abi Shifa given to you in a bottle. The symbol is the same. The symbol is the same. What is the meaning? When I drink this Abi Shifa, Ya Mawla, make me follow your farmans absolutely. That's what's important. And ask yourself, how many farmans have I not followed today? And correct yourself, right? So, you know, our history teaches us amazing lessons that, you know, being Batinis, we have survived the worst vicissitudes of history. And we have come through, and look where we are. Yes, every community where we live, they look at us and say, my God, you are an amazing community, right? So that is through personal behavior, purity, ethics, Farman Bardari, because Imam is with us all the time. He's with us all the time. The moment we say, Ya Mawla, he's saying yes. You know, we should have that attitude. You know, we should never feel, I mean, nowadays because of the pandemic and the lockdowns, many people in other communities are feeling lonely and depressed and have mental issues, etc., because of not being able to socialize. I don't think Ismailis have that problem. Ismailis have the light of the Imam with them all the time. We don't need to feel lonely. Just talk to your Mullah.
Subhanallah.
I hope I tried to answer that question.
Yes, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. The last question I have, what are your thoughts on the online so-called Jamatkhana or gathering, for example, Zoom and other medias?
This is the, you remember that Farman of Haz Imam, we said that the next revolution will be a revolution of technology. And it will be far, far different from any of the other industrial, agrarian, whatever revolutions have taken place in the world. He mentioned that, you know, this technological revolution is going to impact us, right? So, keeping that in mind, to me, it seems very natural that people should connect over the internet. And as long as we understand that we are not in Jamatkhana physically, you know, and it is not even a virtual Jamatkhana. We are simply getting together to pray, because there may be members of the Jamaat who do not know the dua. There may be members of the Jamaat who are alone, and this is their only chance to connect with the Jamaat. There may be many, many ramifications, many, many reasons that thing is a positive thing, right? That to pray together. For instance, you know, they say that the families who eat together stay together. The Ismaili dictum is that Jamaat who pray together will remain together, will remain united. That's my take on it, okay?
Subhanallah, Subhanallah. We have a last question, and then we will ask Kamra Sahib to see if there was any verbal or question that their members can ask. The Surah Araf, verse 53, Allah says, or could we be sent back? Then should we behave differently from our behavior in the past? So, can we relate this to when we are going back to the Jamatkhana?
I didn't catch the number and I would need to read that as well, right? Before
Right.
answering?
Yes, Surah Araf, ayat number 53.
53.
Yes. It is a negative ayat that they wanted to say Allah can do something differently. Ji.
Yeah. No, this ayat itself will take a whole session to understand because it is completely mistranslated. Surah Araf, ayat 7 is about ta'wil. If you read Arabic or if you have the transliteration, you will see that the very first sentence is هل ينظرون إلى تأويل يوم يأتي تأويله. Right? It's about ta'wil. It's about the inner meaning of the Quran, which the others deny, right? So this is not, something which you can give an off the top of your head answer, right? This is something which should be discussed in a smaller class where people are more interested in learning the depth of the Quran.
Yes, I agree. So one more question came online. So Rashida Sahaba, I'm afraid I'm so ignorant and so sinful. If I die like this, what will happen to my soul?
We all keep hearing the Imam's words that soul is eternal. Yeah, soul never dies. Okay? Therefore, if he didn't achieve what we should have achieved, which is he or she who recognizes his or her soul, recognizes God, if he didn't achieve that in this life, then in eternity there will be other chances. But the point is that the minute you realize what was the of your life, then you have to reform your behavior, your action. You don't know how many months or years are left to you, maybe even days. But the minute you realize, you should change and do things differently. That's the way I would handle that, right? And the person who says that they are very simple, it's very good to be simple and humble in every way and not to have a big head and not to be full of pride and arrogance, right? You have a very good quality there. Develop that quality, but develop it with knowledge. There should be humility, but there should be knowledge on which this humility is based.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. So every day we have a chance to correct ourselves and improve ourselves. Thank you. There are no more questions. Kamra Sahib, do we have any question that the people would like to ask directly?
So I think there was one person, but I think the person got the answer.
Shukr alhamdulillah, shukr alhamdulillah. In that case, we can stop here. Thank you so much again, Rashida Sahiba, for a great session. And we are looking forward to your part 2 tomorrow morning. And just to remind everyone, she is delivering another lecture on another channel today, later on. Inshallah, you can see that on your WhatsApp, see what time she's coming online again in just few hours. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow morning. Thank you, everybody. Ya Ali Madad. Thank you, Rashida Sahiba.
Yali Madad, Yali Madad Pur, Yali Madad, Yali Madad.
Yali Madad.